Thomas, don't. He'll kill you.
I loved you and you lied to me. Both of you. You betrayed me.
What do you want from me, Ray?
I want justice.
Oh my God.
Prequels are, by definition, concerned with looking at what has come beforehand. But Bound in Blood is anything but a backward step. This game, a prequel to 2007's Call of Juarez, is a tense, riveting and superb-looking first-person shooter that ditches the stealth elements that clogged up the original like molasses. Instead, it focuses on action-packed shootouts and set-piece moments that will make you feel like you've strapped on the 6 shooters and stepped straight into the dusty, violent Wild West. And while it's over all too quickly and filled with none-too-smart enemies, Call of Juarez Bound in Blood is sure to scratch the itchiest of trigger fingers. The game's Western theme is presented with aplomb. It showcases an impressive world that bleeds with Wild West iconography. Set years before the first game, Bound in Blood follows the McCall brothers, Ray and Thomas, as they change from honorable Confederate deserters to amoral treasure hunters seeking a fabled fortune. If you played the first game, you know Ray as a religious fire and brimstone preacher, which is a stark contrast to the lustful, greedy, cold-hearted Ray portrayed in Bound in Blood. It's one of the great pleasures of the game to see just how this transformation takes place, and while you probably see the ending from a mile away, it still packs a hefty emotional punch. While Ray is a brutish type, his brother Thomas is more thoughtful, and you'll get to play as both in Bound in Blood. Both characters are action-focused. Ray is more direct. He can dual-wield pistols, throw explosives, break down doors, and walk around with the occasional Gatling gun. Thomas is an expert with a rifle. He's deadly with a bow, can use a lasso to reach high places, and can use knives for silent stealth kills. Ray is all about in-your-face confrontation, rushing in with both guns blazing and blowing up any obstacle. Thomas lets you play a more measured game, using the rifle's long sights to take enemies out from a distance. Each brother also gets his own special attack, called Concentration Mode, which slows down time to allow quick attacks on multiple targets. Apart from a few missions at the start and near the end of the game, you can choose to play as either Ray or Thomas throughout most of Bound in Blood. The two brothers stick close together for most of it, meaning that apart from a few instances where one brother has to take a different path, you'll see and do the same thing, no matter which one you play as. How you play, aggressive as Ray or circumspect as Thomas, is different enough, however, to make it worthwhile to go through the game twice. This is a plus because of the brevity of Bound in Blood's single-player campaign. You'll likely finish it, including all the side missions, in about 7 hours on the first run. However, those 7 hours will be eventful, with gameplay flowing nicely between intense shootouts, large-scale set pieces, and intimate one-on-one gun duels. The available weapons for many Bound in Blood shootouts are fairly limited compared to other shooters, although given the time period, that's hardly surprising. The large set pieces happen with good regularity and include blowing up a Union paddle steamer, riding a raft through rapids while being pursued by angry Native Americans, using a cart-mounted Gatling gun to mow down enemies on horseback, and even fighting your way out of an ancient underground temple as it gets buried in sand. The gun duels are less hectic, but just as tense. These one-on-one affairs act as boss fights, pitting you against an especially powerful enemy in an old-fashioned quick-draw fight to the death. The camera shifts down to a cinematic view low behind the player for these duels. Duel controls are quite precise, and you'll never feel like they're preventing you from winning a quick draw. It's hard-in-the-mouth stuff most of the time, and you'll probably die plenty of times before you get the timing of a draw just right. Controls are similarly tight across the rest of the game, although Bound in Blood's auto cover system does take some getting used to. Simply pushing up against a wall, rock, tree, or crate puts you into cover mode, and for the console versions of the game, pushing the right stick left, right, up, or down leans your character out. On the PC, you use the mouse, which feels far more natural than the clunkier Xbox 360 and PS3 controls. You probably won't even need to use cover a great deal when playing in the game's default medium difficulty, since it's easy to breeze through. Shooter veterans will want to play on hard difficulty straight off, which makes the enemies more accurate and able to deal more damage. But even on hard, the game can be quite forgiving, thanks to Bound in Blood's generous checkpoint system and some unsophisticated enemy AI, which sees many of your foes simply standing in the open and not using any flanking or support strategies. Because of this, it never feels like you're fighting a smart, organized force. Most of the challenge in the later half of the game comes in trying to spot where well-hidden enemies are shooting from. Fortunately, your brother's AI is significantly better. Ray or Thomas are great companions, able to hold their own against most foes and generally lending strong support throughout the entire campaign. The multiplayer is all competitive and can accommodate up to 12 players in 5 different modes across 8 maps. There's some depth thanks to the many character classes available, each with its own particular strengths, weaknesses, and gear. Most of these classes are initially locked, and you'll have to earn money through participating in ranked matches in order to buy them. These modes include your standard deathmatch and team-based VIP modes, and all of the games we played ran smoothly and lag-free. The most fun mode is Wild West Legends, which requires a team to complete a set of objectives across a map. Multiplayer, in fact, is quite strong across the board in Bound in Blood because of its varied modes. Strong gameplay isn't Bound in Blood's only appeal though, because it also boasts some killer visuals. The Wild West looks stunning, and you'll see a variety of realistic environments including ghost towns, open deserts, lush forests, and dusty Mexican villages. There are some great visual effects at play too. Focusing down your gun sights will blur the foreground in favor of what you're aiming at in an impressive depth of field showcase, while your lighting shifts as you move from blazing sunshine into a shadowy cliffside crevasse. Bound in Blood is great to look at, and its visuals are complemented by some outstanding audio. The voice acting is close to pitch perfect, particularly the voices of the brothers McCall. You'll get to know the brothers well as they complain, banter, and curse their way through Bound in Blood. And all of it sounds like it could have been lifted directly from a Hollywood Western. And that film comparison is apt, because this game's strong narrative and high production values make it an almost cinematic experience. Add to that its exciting gameplay, and Call of Juarez Bound in Blood becomes the ideal sequel, one that is an improvement over the original in almost every way. Though the game is marred by its short length and weak enemy AI, those looking for a fun and different shooter experience shouldn't have any hesitation about biting the bullet and taking a ride with the McCalls.
They killed the marshal! They killed